Our next item is to discuss and consider action regarding food trucks on city lease property at 103 North Railroad.
So if I can maybe just give an update. Last council meeting, council approved an amendment with the Garlicks, the property owners of what we call Wardyisms. They did agree to that, and we are finishing up final touches on getting that signed off by both parties. So now that the parties have at least verbally agreed to that, I'm asking council direction on what would you, if you would like to place food trucks at that location, how would you like to manage that if that's the intent?
I think that's my. Let me turn that back on. I think that's my biggest question. Who will be managing that? Who determines which two trucks get to stay there? What's fair?
Mayor, considering that I
That'd
have
be
a
it.
business immediately adjacent to this, I'm wondering if I should recuse myself from this discussion.
I think that might be appropriate.
All right. I'll need a form, Tristan. Thank you.
This is the same concern that we had with when we took over the lot on the other side over there next to the church that had food trucks in it already. We didn't have the capacity to manage it. We still don't have the capacity to manage it, and it's a potential liability situation, and I don't see how the cost benefit works out for the city. I think it's a great thing for some private enterprise to operate, and I love food trucks, but we're in the parks and recreation business, not the food truck business.
I'd like to get staff's input on this because.
Ditto.
Huh? No, you don't want to?
No, I really want to hear from them.
Yeah. Like you said,
Does
yeah.
staff have any input?
That'd probably be you, I guess.
The request didn't come from staff to.
No, I know, but as far as
It's our
managing
direction
it-
to staff. What are you asking staff?
No, I mean,
would they be
how
willing to do this for us?
No, I mean, because they'll take it for us. How difficult would it be? The hoops that you're going to have to go through to do this, or how easy it would be. I'd like to know how hard we're going to make your job if we approve it, or if it's just not really a big deal. I mean, is that what you're kind of looking for, Kim? Or something else?
Well, we're not going to be managing it
Right. Yeah.
beyond this vote.
How much is it going to cost me? How much is it going to make me?
Yeah, you can go to the bottom line. Yeah, professional.
So I'd probably start, if I was looking at a policy decision, I'd be looking at what's your intent. Is your intent to bring more vibrancy to downtown? Is it to, so I would, if I was policy making, those are things that I would look at. Can the city, so then a question I would ask is if you then get to, yes, we want to bring food trucks to that location, then how would we make that possible? So I have a list of things that we would want to make something successful. For example, I believe that a food truck should have public restrooms. There should be restrooms available, hand washing, etc. I think that was one thing that the food truck place didn't have at the gin track that I wish it had a public facility for a restroom. I have a whole list, A through a lot. And then this was my ideas of if you wanted to enter an agreement for someone else to manage it, this is what I would require them to do. So then I would be asking you, do you want the city to manage it and decide the food trucks and who's there? Or do you want, and let's be real frank, I would ask for the individual that brought it, I would ask Councilmember McDonald then to manage it. If we were to ask someone to do all this, that would be the party that would be the most appropriate for electricity, for bathrooms, for open space. I don't have public restrooms downtown, and so I would be relying on the private sector to provide electricity, restrooms, and I could go through facilities.
If he managed it,
Go ahead.
if he managed it though, could that be a conflict of interest because he also sits on city council? And if someone gets upset with him because they have a food truck and he didn't let them put it there and it's his business establishment.
I think it's highly inappropriate to have a council member personally profiting off of city
I don't know if
assets.
he's not profiting necessarily with money, but it's a
Food-
different sort of profit.
Well, food
It's
trucks.
bringing business.
Right, food trucks right next to his business will bring him more business. He will make more money if we have food trucks in
I
that
hear you loud and
place.
clear, and they've also said that people are coming specifically for their food trucks, and they
And-
use his patio to sit.
Right.
So everybody is winning, but it's for me, it's more the fact that he is a council member, and it could have some backlash if it didn't go well later.
Well, I think in the past where we have crossed or been at that threshold, I know at least on 2 other occasions, or maybe 3, where council members had a desire to benefit from the city, and I will just say from the city. It was clearly made that that was not a good position to put the city in, and it didn't appear to be a good position to put the community in as well, because from an optics standpoint, it does seem like a conflict of interest, and I just think that makes me nervous.
For him too.
Amen.
So I think the question is, do we see benefit in having food trucks in downtown? Does it increase vibrancy? Is that a decision we want to make?
It benefits him.
No.
Whether it benefits him or someone else,
Right.
we can say we can manage it. We can go. We're talking about putting food trucks on city controlled property. Is there a different city controlled property that makes sense from a policy perspective? Is this an action we want to take from a downtown vitalization perspective, irrespective of who's going to manage
Right.
it at this point in time?
And I would just point out that the agenda item is food trucks on city leased property at 103 North
At
Railroad.
that one
So where
specific
maybe
What'd
we're
he say?
wandering
It's
outside of
specific
it.
to
So my comment that I was going to make in support of you, I withdraw because it's outside of the parameters of the discussion. I think I would move that we not move forward with allowing food trucks on that property.
Can I pose another question? Are there opportunities and ways that those food trucks could benefit the city by being in downtown Pflugerville? Because they are there. And that particular area of Pflugerville is vibrant and will be growing.
Well, it has to be city lease property on this item.
Yeah, just this
Yeah.
property.
I know we've got
It could-
various regulations around food trucks, and they can go several places. I know there are other brick and mortar places that are making downtown rather vibrant these days.
Mr. Mayor, can we ask for a agenda item about that at the next meeting about food trucks downtown?
What specifically?
Do we want to have food trucks downtown? Do we want to have a city policy of encouraging food trucks downtown?
On city property or private? Because we already have rules for private.
Right.
That already exists.
Do we want to make a policy statement that we favor that development or not? And discussion about that at the next meeting?
I don't know, this sounds like a repeat of today.
Well, except that it wouldn't be about
More
the city
general.
properties. It'd be a broader
have an ordinance.
discussion along the lines that Mayor Pro Tem Weiss started to go into before we got reined back in by our able counsel.
Is there a charge for the food trucks currently being there right now?
On our current?
The city is not charging them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not even supposed to be
They're
there.
squatting right now.
Yeah, they're, yeah.
They're not supposed to be there.
If we approved it,
Or if you don't
Everything
approve
after
it,
that.
then
I mean,
I need to
do we-
enforce my lease agreement that we're not allowing them on there. So I need direction of, do you allow them? How do you want to manage it? Or do you want me to tell them that they must vacate?
Right. The issue is so let me sort of put this in sort of focus. So at the last meeting, this council gave direction to staff to approach the property owner to see if they'd be willing to amend the agreement to allow food trucks on that leased property that we currently lease. The property owner indicated that they would be willing to amend the lease in order for that to occur. If you agree to amend, so that would require you to, if you want to do it, now that we know they want to do it, we would draft amendment to the lease, bring it back to you for further consideration to amend the lease, and then for y'all to approve it. And then we would have to determine, as staff just indicated, how do we manage that? Does the city manage the operations of those food trucks, or does the city enter an agreement with, and I'll just say what everybody else has been saying, the three-legged goat, and they can manage and operate those food trucks? I'm getting the impression that that's not a direction this council wants to go. If that is the case, a motion to not move forward with an amendment to the lease would probably be the appropriate direction.
They've already voted on the lease amendment.
No, but we would have to bring that lease amendment back to city council for their approval. They would have to approve it. All we got, my understanding, was direction to find out if the property owner would be willing to do it.
So we don't have.
So I have a verbal. That's kind of
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you do want us to come back with a lease amendment, give us that direction. But
And
those
the-
are the two options.
And the direction we received in July at a work session, it seemed like council liked food trucks and the concept of special events, but not permanency, is what I heard.
Right.
Just
And we
I
do have
think-
an ordinance that, I'm sorry, Councilman.
I was going to say, I think that's this maybe something we want to flesh out along the idea of the agenda item I was thinking about for next time, because I'm not sure that we have clarity about that.
Do we have a retreat anytime soon?
first Saturday of January is annual retreat.
Not anytime soon, no.
I mean,
it's all
relatively,
It's all
it's
relative.
only
Yeah,
it's
not
only
that far away.
120 days away.
What's 90?
So Charlie, if what you're saying is if we retract not approve the amendment to the lease, then
No, we direct staff not to pursue
The
the
amendment.
amendment to the
I
lease.
just want to bring it.
That's, I would.
Because
move-
otherwise, we are gonna draft an amendment to the lease and bring it back to you for your approval.
I move that we direct staff not to draft a
that
amendment
means
to the
stop.
lease to bring to council.
which would make this item basically.
That's correct.
So then the other part of that is when I drove by, I noticed that the food trucks are already there.
Well, they've been there.
Yeah, so then what?
Yeah. They would have to.
Leave. They are currently sitting on city-owned property without authority.
City lease property.
Sorry, city leased property without authority. We are currently technically in violation of our lease agreement.
Who gave them approval to be there?
I don't know the answers to those questions.
I'm just asking these questions.
Yep. Okay. Did you make a motion?
I made a motion. It hasn't gotten a second yet.
Okay. Well, I think we were.
I'm gonna sit back.
Any other?
But I apologize. The lease amendment that I believed y'all also wanted was to allow them for special events downtown. So when we talked about the lease amendment last time, I thought I heard special events would be okay. Maybe I misheard that.
And that's
You know what,
that's
I
a great
think-
point. I know I was trying to make sure we understood what we were doing last time, and maybe it's been
So that when you have
so-
Pride or Slice of Pflugerville.
Do we want to move forward with the lease amendment, but not with a permanent
With the lease
management
amendment that
agreement
allows
with an
special
adjacent
events?
business owner?
That's what I'm getting
Okay.
at.
All right. So then allow me to amend my motion. I move that we instruct staff to go forward with a lease amendment to allow the use of the parking lot for food trucks for periodic city-sponsored special events.
I wouldn't say the parking lot, I would say city lease property. That's what it says on the agenda.
The city lease property. I accept that friendly amendment.
For
Can-
special events?
Can said owner request use for special events?
No,
With the city?
We,
Oh, the owner of the truck.
No,
No,
I'm sorry.
the
You
three-legged
the
goat.
adjacent property owner
Oh,
that's,
adjacent property.
they're not the
The adjacent
property owner.
property owner.
or the adjacent property leaseor.
whatever.
You'll just have to deal with that on an ad hoc basis. I hate to tell you that.
Well,
but,
so I think what we need to be clear about is, do we want to allow the food trucks that are currently occupying that space to remain, or that sounds like the question.
I think that's,
that is
that
correct.
would be outside of the scope of the motion that I proposed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which got a friendly amendment, but still hasn't gotten a second.
Can you repeat your motion?
Okay. As amended, my motion is we direct staff to negotiate an amendment to the agreement on the city leased property at 103 North Railroad to allow the usage of food trucks during special city-sponsored events.
So I think you're an attorney.
That's correct.
And do we need to go that in depth? Do we need to put the specifics of city-sponsored events in the lease agreement? Or is the lease agreement just, are we allowed to, for that use? And then it's a policy statement, do we allow it for specific events or otherwise?
Well,
I think
I'm
we already voted to move forward with modifying the lease agreement for
Yeah.
food truck vendors in the parking lot.
I'm proposing that we limit it that way.
In the, okay.
For city-sponsored events.
Does that sound good, Charlie? Or do
That's
you want
fine.
it cleaned up better?
I mean,
Would you like it cleaned up better?
No, if you want to put to your point, Councilor,
We're putting our
Mayor Pro
policy in
Tem,
our
you're
lease.
putting your policy in your lease. You are restricting yourself
So
within
we
the
only have,
lease.
that way we only have to talk about this once, not twice.
Which would mean the current trucks would have to
They would have to.
leave. Okay. I'll second that motion. Did you make a motion?
I did make the motion.
A few times.
I clarified it and workshopped it a little bit with you guys.
we
Thank
found
you very
it.
much.
Okay, motion carried. So,
All right. Straight take.
Krista, did you get that all down?
I think we just give them notice.
Thank you, ma'am.
How much
As
notice?
soon as possible.
Ugh.
I mean, they have to.
Shall I go get Jim and tell him we're
Well,
finished?
no, we're gonna go
Oh,
back
okay.
there. All right.
Okay, let me move on to the next.
Do we still have business on this particular agenda item then? It sounds like you still have a follow-on question regarding food trucks on city lease property at 103 North Railroad.
Time for the current ones to vacate? Are you, is it 48 hours, is it 30 days, is it?
That's up to the chief of police.
I mean,
I think,
I feel like 7 days is appropriate.
I was gonna say 2 weeks, but, you know.
Say what?
2 weeks.
I was gonna say 2 weeks, but, you know, I heard a week, a month, 2 weeks. A reasonable time, Madam City
All
Manager, that would
due-
be good.
What is it? All due haste?
Somebody said 48 hours, but
No, that's,
I think that's a little,
I mean, two
a little
weeks.
harsh.
2 weeks seems
Two-
reasonable.
2 weeks is good, I think.
I think you can count on that.
All right.